All right, so you got your Google document opened up. The first thing you're going to do, all right, is come up here and name it. Should always be the first thing you do. It makes it much easier to find stuff in your Google Drive if you have a name for the document that you can search in the little search bar. So you can do this one of two ways, right? You can put the APA template first and then your name, or you can put your name and then the template. But I would just name this your APA template of some kind. Get that in there so it's easy to find. It's always easier to take this template and do file, make a copy, because you'll be able to use this. Right? You can even share this with a different Google email. And then save that to your drive so that you can use that in the future if you plan on attending college, or if for some reason you're just writing an APA style paper because you feel like it, because you just love writing so much that's what you want to do with your life, is just write papers, right? So I suppose would be a lucrative business, but it's also kind of supposed to do that for people. But anyway, all right, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see better. All right. All right. So the next thing we need to do, all right, is we're going to come over here to our font. We're going to get that into Times New Roman. We're going to click 12. All right. So after you do that, come to your line and spacing, paragraph spacing here. All right. And we're going to go to custom spacing. Now, the default for Google Docs is 1.15. We want to change that to 2. We want to make sure that this says 0 and this says 0. All right? Because otherwise you end up with some weird spacing issues, and you're going to get marked off for that. So let's just avoid that. Make sure that says 0. We're going to click Apply. All right? And we're going to leave that the way it is for now. We'll come back to that after we get our header situated. So come up to Insert. All right. We're going to go down to Page Numbers. All right. So Page Numbers. Okay. So you got 4 options with this. All right. You want this top right-hand corner. All right. Top right-hand corner is the one that you want. So one that has no page number on the first page. It starts with a 1 on the second page. All right. It's in the top right-hand corner. Not the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so it's not like a tremendously huge deal if you accidentally put them in the bottom right-hand corner because it's still a page number. But technically, the correct way to do this is to select that one right there. All right. So after we've done that, we're going to come and click up here. You'll notice that that changes because for some reason your header is always a different font than the rest of your paper unless you go in and change it. So that's what we're going to do. Times New Roman, 12-point font. We're going to type in the words running head, exactly like this, right? And then we're going to, if you get that for me, thank you. In all capital letters, we're just going to put the title of the paper, all right? So title of the paper. Okay, so remember this is a template. You're going to go in, you're going to erase the title of the paper, and you're going to put The Crossing of the Delaware by George Washington, or Ben Franklin's Promiscuous Life, right? Because when we think about Ben Franklin, he was kind of a very promiscuous individual. He liked French women especially, but that's beside the point. So anyway, so you get title of your paper. After you do that, you are free to click out here again. All right, so that should go away. All right, there should be no page number over here in the right-hand corner. All right, if there is, then you've done something wrong and you need to fix it. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to temporarily put ourselves in center alignment. All right. And then we're going to come down roughly halfway, right? So if you have your ruler up on your Google Docs, it'll be right around the 4 is where you want to get to. That's about the halfway point, maybe a little bit above there. All right, just use your best judgment as far as getting that lined up. But here, again, we're going to put title of the paper. You're going to put your name, all right, your actual name, all right, it's your template. Go ahead and type in your actual name, please. All right. And then we're going to do LSHS. And what semester are we in? First one, what's the first semester of school called? The fall semester. All right. I know that's confusing, but that's the way it works. All right. So we're in the fall semester. All right. Even though we'll end this semester in the middle of winter, and then we'll be in the spring semester next semester. Even though it won't be spring until we're almost done with it. So there's that. Okay. So that's the way we're going to do it. Then we're going to hit enter until we get to the top of a new page. All right. So you can go ahead and type one more time the title of your paper here. All right. After you do that, we're going to go ahead and click back into the header. All right. So if this comes up as Arial 11-point font, then you have done something wrong at that particular point, because it should have switched automatically for you to Times New Roman 12 since you already changed that. Every once in a while, Google Docs doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Go ahead and hit backspace twice there. All right. All capital letters again, title of paper. And then we're just going to move that 1 back over to that blue triangle. All right. So whenever I talk about blue triangle, that takes it out of view. All right. So it's this little blue triangle right here, because that's the furthest you can get over, all right, without going to the next line. All right. So we want to try and line that up as neatly as possible. All right. So if the title of your paper is like really long, you're going to shorten it, because you never really want it to go too terribly far over. So you'll have like a condensed version of it. You'll pick like 3 important words or something like that out of your paper's title, and you run with that way. So that way you don't have, if your paper title is like 20 words long or something, you don't like push into a second line with your title in the running head, because they don't really like it whenever you do that. All right, so you can click out of there once again, and then we're going to hit, after title of the paper, we're going to hit enter, backspace, and then tab. All right, and that gets us set up for our first page of actual content. All right, so we've got the title page done, we have the running head done, and now we're ready to start typing content. All right, so this is going to be where you're going to put your introduction. Body paragraphs are going to go here. All right, and you can type that in for placeholders, and then you'll eventually get to a conclusion. All right, so since you have 5-page paper as a minimum page count, you're looking at typically somewhere between 7 and 12 sentences per paragraph. All right, so your introduction paragraph is going to be your shortest paragraph in the paper. You're probably going to get 5 or 6 sentences in that. So if you're looking for a paragraph count, you're probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of, including your introduction and conclusion, somewhere around 7 or 8 paragraphs, probably. It's not going to be a big deal if you have 12 paragraphs, because you have some shorter paragraphs in there. Or you might have a really, really long paragraph that all contains the same concept that you're trying to write about, and that's fine too. So it just depends, right? I'm not going to go in and count and say, well, if it doesn't have 6 paragraphs, F. Like that would, to me, that's ridiculous. All right, try and get to the 5 pages. If your content is really well written, then the 5 pages isn't quite as important. The goal is to become better writers with this, not to just check off boxes. Okay, so where the page count comes in is if you're just literally just putting in a bunch of nonsense, and you get to 3 pages and you literally haven't talked about anything, right? Then you probably deserve to lose some points because you're just rambling on nonsense. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set up our bibliography or our references page, works cited page. It's called a bunch of different things. It depends on the thing that you're using. I believe now the APA officially has changed from using the word bibliography to references page. So that's what we're going to use this year to try and stick with the times. All right. Say is every minute I get more into my 30s. Let's see here. So we're going to go back to center aligned really quickly, and we're going to put in references. All right. So, and that's just exactly what it is. That's what bibliography means. It's just a list of sources that you used to complete your paper. All right. So that we know that you're not full of pudding. Okay. So, all right. We know that you actually did research. You can go look and see that you didn't just copy word for word, right? You didn't steal someone else's work. You didn't plagiarize, right? So all of that stuff will go in there, all right? So they're typically going to follow with your bibliography because you're more than likely, most of you are going to use just websites. I would prefer that you try and find a book, all right, even if it's an encyclopedia. I've got different content books back there that you are more than welcome to use as references. All right, just make sure that you get them back. A lot of those books are free. Some of them are quite old and are valuable for no other reason than the people that gave them to me were important to me. So, just don't screw them up, please. I wouldn't come in, if you brought your PlayStation 5, I wouldn't come in and just, drop your PlayStation 5 on the floor and, stomp on it. That's not a jerk, all right? So just don't do that to my stuff. It would be appreciated, all right? So, but these follow just the same general outline whenever it comes to a website. All right, we're going to go with author's last name, if it's available, and then we're going to do first initial. All right, I can't stress that enough. It is their first initial, not their entire first name. All right, so for me, it would be Grafe, K if you were referencing the notes in class or something, which you are able to do. So just always last name, first initial, and then we're going to, in parentheses, we're going to put the year of publication. All right. So this is actually, it depends on what class you're in and how up to date your teacher or professor or whatever happens to be on the APA rules. Okay. So year of publication is what I was always taught and what I used throughout college and what I've used in my master's program, but a lot of my professors are freaking old, right? So they don't care about the APA updates. They're using the APA from whenever they started teaching, okay? So you can put the entire date here. That's fine. So normally I've went back in and changed that, but APA does allow you, so if it was published on July 1st, 1993, you can put that whole thing in there. That's fine. Or you can just put the year of publication. I always put the year of publication because I'm going to click on the link and see whenever it was published anyway. So, the actual month and date aren't terribly important to me. All right, so then we're going to go into italics. You can do that by hitting Control-I. It'll change your stylization there to italics. And we're going to do title of the work. All right. So that in particular, the title of the work is not the name of the website. It's the name of the article that you're reading on the website. Okay. So I can't stress that enough. Don't get those two mixed up. Most of those should exist somewhere, all right? There is a chance, right? It does happen where someone has created their own website, and it's about Roman Emperor Caligula, and it's called the RomanEmperorCaligula.com, right? That's a possibility. It does happen, but just make sure that you're double checking that there's not some other title somewhere before you do anything else, all right? And then you're going to hit Control-I to get out of italics, and you're going to put the website title. All right, so that will be, for instance, if you use history.com, all right, the way they have you reference that is always, in all caps, just the word history. That's all you have to put, okay? So if we're getting technical, like they're owned by like A&E Television Corporation or something like that. But whenever it comes to their actual references, what they want you to use is just put history, all right? Same thing with like Encyclopedia Britannica. You're just going to put Encyclopedia Britannica online and that type of thing. So just whatever the website title happens to be, and there's other ones out there besides those. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit Enter, and we're going to hit Tab. All right. So that gives us what's called a hanging indent. They want this for some reason. Not exactly sure what the reason is. I think it helps with the organization process is the only thing I can think of, is because whenever you're done with the hanging indents and it goes back over, you're looking at a new resource instead of the same resource. That would be my guess, but I've never had anybody actually confirm that for me. Then we're going to put retrieved from, and then we're going to put the URL in there. All right, so we don't currently have a website, so just put a retrieved from URL. Now, there is two different ways to do this as well. We're putting the one that I'm looking for, but you can also put retrieve from blank on the day that you actually looked at it. Right, so that is the more updated version of APA, and that's fine. So if you use a citation machine or something like that, then that's probably what you're going to get. Don't recommend using citation machines because they are not always 100% accurate for some reason. Even though you put the information in, for some reason sometimes the thing they spit out is not what it's supposed to be at all. I don't know. They feel okay charging people for that still, so I guess it's not on the top of their priority list. All right, so that is our APA template. That's how you set up the APA template. Now you can hit File and make a copy, and then you can go in there and whatever the title of your paper is going to be, you can put that in all those spaces. You can start putting your sources in there. Now, as far as tomorrow goes, what we'll do is I'll have a sign up with all of your names on it. You'll pick your topic. I'll make sure and approve that as quickly as possible so you can start researching. And then you can do this one of two ways. You can create a separate Google document if you want to keep track of your just basic research information, or you can do it as kind of an annotated bibliography, which is where you make notes about what each resource in your paper is going to go to. So just a reminder, we're not using our cell phones in class, right, or there will be problems. So the way that you would do that is just to simply come underneath here, and you would be like, okay, so I've got the author's last name, so I'm going to go ahead and put my in-text citation in here. So that's going to be last name, comma, year of publication, all right? That's always followed by a period, all right? That ends the sentence, all All right, so if you type out a sentence, George Washington crossed the Delaware River on such and such, and he did this because, and you put your citation at the end with the period following it. There's a period before it, a period after it, then you just have a random thing in there that isn't attached to anything. So no period before it comes at the end of the sentence whenever you're making a reference to something. All right. So it's important that you make note of that. All right. So that's the first thing that I would do. Whenever you go to turn your paper into me, that right there, you need to get rid of it. Okay. So because that's a note. All right. I don't need to see the note. I just need to see your references. I understand why it's there because I tell you to put it there. But before you turn the paper in, please erase those. All right, you got to get in the habit of getting rid of those because if you are going to college, there are some professors that just are not very understanding. I don't know. They had a horrible childhood or something. I don't really know why. But they'll get mad about that and be like, why do you have this crap in your references page, right? So I know why it's there. I told you to put it there, but just get in the habit of erasing those before you turn the final copy in. Okay, so it's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, you failed the paper because you didn't do this. But I'm just going to say to you, like, remember, you got to remove these if you're going to turn them in. And then the other thing you can do, and this is what we call annotation. All right, so annotation is just literally notes, right? Notes on what this source is supposed to do. So you can use this one of two ways. In an annotated bibliography, you'd include like a sentence about what the source is or how it contributed to your paper. All right, that's kind of how we're going to use it here. If you're using this on, you file, make a copy, and you've started writing your paper. All right, so your topic, let's say, because we've just been using George Washington, you're talking about George Washington's battle strategy during the American Revolution. All right, so maybe this first source is on why Washington crossed the Delaware. Right, so you would put that note in there so that you know exactly what that resource is referencing, so that whenever you're actually writing your paper, you're not trying to think, oh man, which of these 6 or 7 websites that I have dealt with this particular topic, right? So it's just like a quick reference guide for you to go back and get a hold of the information that you need to write the paper, right? So you're not spending a ton of time looking through all 7, 8, 12, 20, how many other resources you have to try and find information. This is just a much quicker way to do it. Okay, so with all that being said, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to practice a couple of things here. So we've been talking about George Washington. So, all right. So we're just going to type in something about George Washington. I don't care if you type in the same thing. Just watch this for some practice here. All right. So we're going to look for resources. I don't really want you to use Wikipedia, all right? Other than Wikipedia at the bottom, typically will have a ton of resources listed for where they got the information from. And you can click on those sites and then access that information for yourself. Usually will work a lot better for you than just using Wikipedia, all right? Because Wikipedia can be edited by a community of people. So, and there's no like real regulation to it. All right, so looky there. We found a History Channel website with George Washington crossing the Delaware. So we're going to just click on that because we know typically they're reliable. All right, as long as they don't say anything about there being aliens and that's why Washington crossed the Delaware, then it should be fine. All right, so we look at this. All right, it's pretty short. There's not a ton of information here. All right, it does have a video. link somewhere in here. All right, so we've got Washington. You can watch that on History Vault, apparently. All right, so you don't have to buy subscriptions in order to write your paper. Don't do that. We'll figure something out instead. All right, so we have our article title, we have author, we have website name, we have the link, we have the data access, we have the publisher. All right, we have last updated, and we have the original publication date. We're always going to go with the last updated date. That'll be the one that goes in here. So the easiest way for us to do this, all right, is to just go side by side, and we'll get everything in here we're supposed to have. Now, the author is listed here as History.com editors, all right, so that's exactly what you put. You don't put last name, first name, because that's not available to you. So History.com editors. Year of publication, remember we go with the last updated. So you can put in there December 16th, 2021, or you can just go ahead and put 2021, all right. Now the title of the work is George Washington crosses the Delaware. Website title or website name, it's just history. And then we are retrieved from. All right, so you see how that went onto the second line? We're going to go ahead and go before retrieved from. We're going to hit enter, we're going to hit tab. All right. So you can copy the URL from there if you want to, all right? But you can also just as easily take it from there, copy and paste that in there, hit space to give you that nice blue line, all right? So you notice that that's longer, all right? So it's pushing onto another line, it won't fit, the space is provided. So there's an easy way to fix that. We're just going to hit backspace, enter, all right? And that should do it automatically. Right? So Google sometimes is smart and does learn from you. So it should fix it automatically. If it doesn't, after you hit backspace, enter, you just hit tab to move it over and get it locked up. Okay? So then we would go in here, right? And this is where you would put your reference, and this, you'd make your note about short paragraphs about Washington's Delaware crossing. Not a lot of info. Alright, so you make yourself a little note there for that. Okay? Any questions? Yes, maybe. It's Monday, it's first hour, I'm tired. You stop talking, that's great. Alright, so if there's no questions, just make sure you put this in. If you have folders in your Google Drive, because you're an organized person, put it somewhere, put it in this class's folder or whatever. But you got it named. You should be able to access this file, make a copy is what you'll do tomorrow, so that you don't mess up your template or have to go in and change your template to extreme links every single time. And we'll just stop there. Okay? So for the rest of the class, you can work on something else if you need to, or you can quietly talk amongst yourselves.